Just about 70% of Americans don't have a will. There's a few things that come with it, which I'll go into today, like how it works, how long it takes, things like that. So those three documents, the last will and testament, the Advanced Healthcare Directive, and the Financial Power of Attorney, they're all available for free through Inheritance of Hope and Life Legacy's partnership.
Welcome to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. Every day, 562 children lose a parent to terminal illness. They shouldn't have to face that alone. You can pretend to avoid the painful realities of illness, grief, and death, or you can deal with the real stuff in caring community. On the podcast, people in Inheritance of Hope's community share raw, personal stories of pain, trials, and the shadow of death, which are also stories of joy in terminal illness. Find more Inheritance of Hope community at inheritanceofhope.org. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Inheritance of Hope podcast. I'm Ellie, your host, and we are doing another episode in our new series, walking through what Inheritance of Hope offers. I know we throw around a lot of terms like Hope Hubs and Hope at Home groups and things like that. So this is all about diving into that and what it actually entails. So today we're covering a service that I feel like is not as known. It is newer, but our hope with this is just to let people know that this is a free resource. It's on our website and everyone can and should use it. So I have a guest here to talk a little bit more about it. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Jordan Cassidy, and I'm the co-founder of LifeLegacy, which I started with my brother just over 5 years ago today. I live in Littleton, Colorado, and I live here with my wife and 2 children. We also have 2 rescue dogs, 2 rescue cats. So it's a lot of fun. We love it out here in Colorado. Yeah, and we started Life Legacy, like I said, 5 years ago, and that comes from a personal story, which is pretty similar to I think what a lot of people have gone through here that are involved with Inheritance of Hope. When I was 6 years old, my father was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he fought it for nearly 14 years, and it was a battle. It was something my family went through as children. I'm the oldest of 4, so you can imagine if I was 6, there's a lot of kids in the house, and it was a lot going on. But through a lot of beautiful community in our town that really stepped up for us, our family coming together. It's a wonderful thing to see how through something so difficult as this, good things can come from it. And it's been a blessing that me and my brothers were able to start a company in my father's honor, helping Americans leave legacies all across the country. Thousands of people every year. It's really phenomenal to see. I mean, Inheritance of Hope's a special one because I feel like the mission's so similar, to what I've gone through, and seeing people leave legacy videos and the legacy songs and write their actual plans. It's really great to witness firsthand with Inheritance of Hope here. So today I'm going to go into the services that we actually have that are available to all of you. They're located on the website. And they're also, you'll see during certain times of the year, like Make a Will Month, which is in August, and National Estate Planning Awareness Week, which is in October. Different times like that, Inheritance of Hope sends out an email just reminding people of these valuable resources. But I wanted you to know that they're not just available those a couple times of the year. It's available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And on the website, just so everyone knows, if you went under Ways to Give, which is located under How to Help, you'll be able to see it says wills, and people are able to leave gifts in their will to help support this mission for generations to come. But on top of that, you're not required to do so. You can just protect your family and the ones that you love. And as of today, I was actually just checking this morning with Ellie. We have over 165 wills that have been started.
Yeah.
A lot of plans that were put in place, and it's remarkable to see.
Yeah. I love that this is offered because I feel like both of our organizations have such a focus on legacy. That's in your name, that's in a lot of our program names. And it's so core to how it sounds like both of us operate because everyone is leaving a legacy. Everyone is going to die. And there are things that you can start doing now, even if you're healthy, even if there's nothing in your world that feels like this needs to be a priority. You can take steps now to make a legacy video, to make a legacy song, to create a will, to do this estate planning thing so that your family, if anything ever happens, they're set up to grieve without having to figure out and scramble to do these things. And if it's all laid out in a will, the burden that you're taking off of your family in the midst of their grief is you can't put a price tag on it. And luckily, with Inheritance of Hope, you can create a will for free, which, yes, you're hearing that correct. You can create a will for free. Um, yeah, it's just so incredible.
You're 100% correct, and there's actually a really, um, great study that came out a few years ago that showed 70% of Americans, just about 70% of Americans don't have a will. So, if that's an eye opener, think about it. I talk to rooms of people where, we're like, "All right, who's got a will in here?" And you see not many hands always go up, right? It's something people procrastinate doing for a variety of reasons, but one of the great truths now is that, you can do this from the comfort of your home, right? Online estate planning got really big during those COVID years when people
Mm,
weren't able to go in right away to the estate planning attorney. They realized, "Oh, I can do this online." They were doing it and getting it notarized, and it just really took off from there. LegalZoom and organizations like that have been around for decades. They kind of pioneered the way. But now with services like Life Legacy, we can offer this for free, which is a really great complementary product for a lot of different organizations. We work with life insurance carriers. We work with actual physical product companies that do planning like
mm,
boxes and things like that. And like, for example, Inheritance of Hope, right? A nonprofit that's helping people, especially folks with terminal illness. So there's a few things that come with it, which I'll go into today, like how it works, how long it takes, things like that. But there's a few I like to call them like the big three of estate planning. And Ellie, I'll kind of dive into it if that's cool.
yeah, go for it.
So the last will and testament, that's really kind of the heart of this whole thing, right? That's a legal document that explains how you want your assets to be distributed after you pass away and who should carry on your wishes. You'll be naming an executor to handle that, your beneficiaries, guardians, and also, leaving any other details in there that can make it helpful, kind of like what Ellie was saying, not to really leave a mess, but to leave a legacy. And during a time when with grieving, it's just such a great thing to have a plan in place. So whether that's how you were picturing your funeral to go, right? From the ceremony to the burial, picturing, how I talked about my 2 rescue dogs and 2 rescue cats, right? What happens to the animals?
Yeah.
Who's the vet? Things like that. Just like simple things that, if someone's picking through and trying to figure this all out, let's try to make it as easy as possible for people. Advanced Healthcare Directive. That's the number 2 in there. And that's a document that outlines your medical care preferences and names someone to make the healthcare decisions for you if you're unable to do so. So if you're incapacitated, a lot of decisions that you might not have the ability to make then, right? Do you want to be on life support? What type of quality of life do you want to have? Things like that. You can make those decisions and name someone in that document. And then the third one is the financial power of attorney, which that's a legal document that gives someone you trust the authority to manage your financial matters if you're unable to make them yourself. So kind of similar scenario, right? Let's say you were incapacitated and who's paying the mortgage? Who's paying the bills? Who's keeping the lights on, keeping things going, right? Last thing you need is to go into delinquency with all those things. So those 3 documents, the last will and testament, the Advanced Healthcare Directive, and the financial power of attorney, they're all available for free through Inheritance of Hope and Life Legacy's partnership. And so that's the big things I wanted to cover today. But with the last will and testament, I'll kind of go into that one a little further.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the thing we're going to focus on. It takes 15 to 20 minutes to complete that. So that's from beginning to end. That's what we typically see. When you start, there's a few things I'd like to say that you should really think about beforehand, because I think this is where a lot of people, they start with all the good intentions and they get to a tough question or a section where they really need to think a little more and they might pause. That's where we see people leave and they come back later, which is perfectly fine. But just going into it, knowing there's some of these questions that are coming up. I think one of the big ones, obviously, beneficiaries, right? Think about your family, your spouse, children, whoever it may be, and how you'd want to allocate that. There's residual percentages, right? That's like an allocation, a percentage of your estate. There's also specific gifts that you can leave. So that could be dollar values. That could also be items, right? Whether it's an actual physical item like a car, family heirloom, things like that. So think about all those things, all your possessions, your assets, and how you'd like to have them doled up. So with guardians too, think about decision makers as well as any charitable organizations you wish to support, right? This is your chance to leave a legacy and leave, a legacy behind that reflects your values, how you lived, and what difference you want to make in the world. So it's really a wonderful thing to get to experience, like, how I remember the first time I wrote mine, right? I wrote my will for the first time when my son Jack was 1 year old, almost one, and I was heading to Cambodia. I'd never been over in that part of the world. And I said, you know what, before I travel, now that I am a parent, I
Mhm.
should put a will in place. And that's when I did my first
Cool.
one. And I did it online back then, and that was way before I even created Life Legacy, so not on the Life Legacy tools, believe it or not, Ellie, but it has been updated many times since, and that's another, important thing to point out, right? Your life doesn't stay stagnant, it doesn't stay the same. You move, you have children, other things can happen. Even adopt another rescue dog. I don't think I'm doing that anytime soon. I think I have my hands full with these two. But if I did, I would want to update it and just list that dog as well, right? And things like that. Or you have another child, you list that child, or you have a grandchild. All these different life events are different reasons to update your plans or to just make sure they're current enough. I've talked to folks where they're like, I hate admitting this, but I haven't updated my will since my kids were 6 and 4 years old. And now they're 26 and 24 years old, and they don't need a guardian anymore, right? They're over 18. So things like that, right? When you reach those ages and milestones, just know that you can always update your plans accordingly. So you might have a will, might be an old will. I would say, reflect on that and think if this is something you need to update, and knowing you have the tools here to do so. And Ellie, I know you'd asked me before, who is this really for, right? Who's like the ideal person to use this? So I want to say it's really designed for adults of all ages who want peace of mind, whether you're just getting started or updating, like I said, an existing plan, or looking for a simple way to protect the loved ones that you have and the causes that you support regularly. But a will is a legal document that does go through the probate process. So just so everyone knows, if you have complex financial affairs, right? Let's say you have multiple businesses or real estate properties or really complex family scenarios, right? If you have a child that has special needs, you should consider a special needs trust. And if you have complex financials, that's where really looking into a trust might make more sense. But for, average typical, plans and really straightforward and standard estates, you'll see that wills can provide a great resource to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so great to hear some of this nitty-gritty because this is such a foreign world to most of us. Even if you're a very competent adult, if you're not in this world, some of these words are maybe new or you've heard of it, but you don't really know what it means in practice and in theory. So hearing this is really helpful. I will put the in the show notes, I'll put the link to where you can find this on Inheritance of Hope's website. And I also will include a link to another episode that we recorded. I believe the title is End of Life Planning with Time Still Left, and it's with Joe and Ashley Kirarte, and they are a family served by Inheritance of Hope. Joe has glioblastoma, and they are so intentional about this. And so if you are looking for maybe more of a testimonial of why this is important or how other people are doing it, listen to that episode. They do a great job of articulating some of the dynamics of, does my mom decide? Does my wife? Like, how do you avoid some tricky dynamics and things like that? So I will refer you to that if you kind of want a zoomed in view of it. But this is just, it's so helpful. And if people have questions of like, okay, it's been 10 years since I've updated my will. How do I update it? I guess answer that question specifically because I'm sure people will ask it. But then if they have questions like that, where should they bring them?
Yeah. So your question was if you had a will like from 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, so if you update your will, let's say you write a new will, just completely, right, with Life Legacy, and you get it notarized and witnessed, that's gonna be the overriding will that's gonna hold up in court, right? So you can have 10 wills from the past 10 years, but whichever one's the most recent. And like you're saying, Ellie, I know, like, you and I are probably a little more well-versed than the average person, maybe with estate planning and end of life planning, given all that we do in this industry. But for like all the little nuances with the words of, like, what's an executor, right? Who is an executor? We have little tooltips throughout the whole process that defines who these people are. Just so, this might be the first time you see that or hear of that. And we want to make sure everyone knows how the process works and what these legal names stand for. So yeah, we try to make it easy through there. I've had folks as young as 18 complete a will and as old
Mm.
as 92 on this platform, which I was amazed by and really excited
Yeah.
by because that's really good. If it's, user friendly enough that a 92-year-old can walk through it, then we've done
Mhm.
something right. And, I think in this day of age with the way technology is and more people being in front of a computer and spending a lot of their adult life, working in front of a computer, doing online estate planning is more relevant than ever.
Okay, so we're talking about it all being online. So, I guess, are there any other steps that someone should know about before they start this so that they know what to expect?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, it's an online will. You fill it in through our website, right? And then when you click submit, it'll generate a PDF document, and so you'll be able to print that out. And then we give you on on the second page, it's like a cover sheet, what those next steps are. So depending on which state you're in, there's different rules in every state for how many witnesses you need, or if you can do an online notarization, or if it has to be a physical wet one, right? And if it's a notarization that you have to go in person, you can go to your local UPS, you can go to the bank, anywhere that can has a public notary and get it notarized. And then once that's done, we discuss on that page that we recommend storing it in a safe place, telling the executor that you named in there about it. So people know, the last thing you want to is you do all this work, right? You do this planning, you don't tell anyone about it, it's
Mhm.
buried in some drawer in your office. And if something were to happen, you just hope that people find it in time while everything's going on. Um, but yes, so it's mostly
Yeah,
digital and online, but there is a physical element to it too.
sure. No, that's so good to know. And yeah, the thing about all of this is if you are taking all of these steps to be intentional and do the work to create a legacy and do these things that make it easier for your family, follow through, like do the next step and tell someone about it. Have your people know, okay, this is the folder where everything is, or if it's in this safe box, get this will notarized and have it in the same place and tell people about it. Like that is it's so good if you're doing all this. And tell people about it so it's worth something, you know?
Yep. Yeah, and it makes me think back to, my personal experience. My father with, fighting a brain tumor for that long. We had time to plan. He had time to plan. He had time to tell us how he wanted things to be. We
Mm,
had the benefit of time. Not everyone has that. Things can happen tragically or they can happen really fast. So when you do this, I recommend, regardless of where your health situation is, talk to people about it. Have a conversation. The Make a Will Month, the National Estate Planning Awareness Week, are just great times of the year, even to bring the family together to sit down. And it's a very rewarding conversation. Telling people what you plan, having the document, letting people know where it is. That removes a lot of hopefully no fighting between family members, right,
yeah.
over the estate because they know how mom or dad or whoever it may be wanted it. Just
Mhm.
clarity. So that's where I always say, like, communication is a huge part of this too. And the more you could communicate in an open way, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah. And it makes me think of it's called the death deck. It's a deck of cards essentially, and it's just talking points about things like do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Or things that it's taboo we don't normally bring up.
Yeah,
But it almost like gamifies the conversation. And so maybe just take a Saturday with your family, break out the death deck, have some of these conversations, talk about this, start the process. It couldn't be easier. Like everything you just described. Obviously, this is a platform that's set up for like user ease. So it couldn't be simpler and it couldn't cost any less. Like it's literally free. It's user friendly. Go and do it. So yeah, thank you for taking your personal story and turning it into a tool for other people to navigate something that we're all going to experience. We all need these things. So yeah, that's such a powerful thing.
appreciate it, Elliot. And we have customer support too. So if anyone has questions while they're going through, feel free to chat in. We either respond, right there on the spot, or we can get back to you via email. And just to make sure that you understand how this all works. And we're glad that we can help, the folks at Inheritance of Hope and this great partnership. Like I said, we're honored to work with you guys. And, and yeah, thank you all. I appreciate being here today.